It was a week ago that U.S. Chamber of Commerce CEO Tom Donahue wrote in an op-ed that America needs more low-skilled immigration. His reason being that Americans aren't, as he put it, qualified or willing to do such work. Here to talk about why big business seems to be moving in the opposite direction of conservatives on immigration and a lot of other issues is the Vice President of the Heritage Foundation, Genevieve Wood. Genevieve, great to have you with us.
Lou, good to be here.
I was taken by the fact that Tom Donahue, representing mostly big business in this country, is basically telling the Republican Party how it's going to be, insisting on immigration as envisioned in the G8 legislation in the Senate that was passed, not the House legislation, and pushing unskilled immigrants into the country rather than highly skilled immigrants to drive our economy. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, I think a lot of people think of the Chamber of Commerce and they think that they represent a lot of small businesses, and certainly they do that too, but I think it's more to your point, it's increasingly the establishment position, the big business position that the Chamber is putting forth. And look, for all they want to say about immigration, that this is going to help businesses somehow, even if that were true, that's not what this immigration bill that they supported, that the Business Roundtable and other lobbyist groups supported, the labor union supported, would do. The very first thing it does is it gives amnesty to the millions of folks who are here illegally. And I'm sorry, it's hard to say how that is good for the American taxpayer, who's going to pay trillions of dollars if we do something like that. And it's certainly not going to secure our borders. We've been down this path before. So a lot of us can say, including those of us at the Heritage Foundation, yes, we need immigration reform, but you don't go about it with an amnesty bill. And that's what the Chamber wants to do. They're willing to take that route because they think it will be good for some of their businesses, even though it runs over the American taxpayer and, frankly, our country's rule of law.
Yeah, and whether we're talking about immigration or Obamacare, your views on Obamacare, I would like to hear, given that you're at such divergence with the Chamber, big business, because we're hearing big business, which is now, by the way, getting, they're being subsidized. There is a bailout in waiting for our health care insurance companies, which we'll learn a lot more about by May. There just seems to be a merger of corporate interest in this country with the Democratic Party that I've never seen the like of.
Well, it's big business and the establishment, and that goes across both parties. You can't just blame Democrats on that. And I have a column coming out tomorrow, Lou, in the Foundry. If people go to foundry.org tomorrow, they'll see where I don't talk just about immigration, but though I do give that example, but whether it's corporate subsidies, whether it's things like Obamacare, and other areas where the business lobby has basically made a deal with the devil, so to speak, that, hey, we'll go along and get along with those things. And I'll tell you why I think it happens. They, unlike the individual citizen or the small business owner or entrepreneur, they can afford all the record keepers and lobbyists and tax accountants and lawyers that it takes to keep up with all the new regulations and mandates that come with things like Obamacare. And what does that do? It means they end up being the only people in the market. It pushes the little guy out. Right. So whether we're talking about Obamacare, whether you're talking about the internet sales tax that the Chamber and others were behind earlier, which was a new tax. I mean, why is the Chamber calling for a new tax? Well, because big groups like Amazon.com and others, they can handle that kind of thing. The woman who's trying to sell her art on Etsy, that's a much bigger hurdle for her. So I think what you're seeing is you got more big government, and it's not overtly surprising that big business that can afford it and can work with it, so to speak, is coming out and supporting it.
And we've got the issue now of net neutrality. We've got what is now going to be a contest, certainly a regulatory contest, between all of the gatekeepers, whether they're internet service providers or whether they are content companies, watching now what is happening with Netflix and Verizon and others as internet providers. We have a lot to sort out here. And these gatekeepers are, frankly, that's not the American way of doing business, I'm sorry to tell everybody. We're supposed to be about competition and less scale and less mass as gatekeepers.
That's right. Well, and the chamber has its own campaign. It's called the Campaign for Free Enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't talk about free enterprise and the free market and be for corporate welfare, giving subsidies to whether it's green energy companies or Boeing or you name the big business out there, General Electric. That's right. That's not free market. That's not a level playing field. And that's what we're saying. There are things that the chamber and other business groups certainly do right. They're for Keystone, for instance. But there's a lot of things they do that really is, you know, for lack of a better term, they're getting very close and cozy with big government.
You know, and I love the fact that I refer to Tom Donahue as the good cardinal. He is, you know, he is a man pulling a lot of strings behind the scenes. And now he's taken to front and center stage with sometimes ultimatums and sometimes just outright threats. He's a man who is feeling his oats, and I think that is that's remarkable. We'll see how it works. Genevieve?
Yeah, we will, and I think your segment before spoke to that. I think you're going to see a lot of this play out in primaries and elections because they're going to come up against those in the Tea Party and other places.
Genevieve, thanks for being with us. Let's continue the conversation. Thank you, Genevieve Wood.